Do you find yourself holding onto furniture and walls as you move through your house? I'm physical therapist Katie Wolfley, and today we're going to talk about the whys and hows so that you can reduce your furniture surfing. There are a number of reasons why we might do these types of strategies getting around our homes, but the most common is that we're feeling unstable. Maybe we have a lack of confidence in our balance and just having that general fear of falling. And when it comes to fear of falling, our balance, we tend to lose our balance as we age, and it's normal. As we change our activities and what we participate in, that tends to decline. And while it is normal, there are a couple of things that we consider to help keep yourself safe as this becomes a large safety concern. The first thing is that we'd like you to consider using an assisted device, something like a cane or a rolling walker. These devices are very helpful for helping us steady ourselves and just maintaining our balance, as opposed to being something like a crutch where we reduce our weight bearing. And they can be used in public and at home. I know a number of people who tend to use a cane out in public and a rolling walker in their house, which they might use at night when getting up in the middle of the night and having that instability with darkness in the house and getting around to the bathroom. Having these devices is useful and just takes a little bit of practice. The second thing you could do is help yourself out by reducing the amount of tripping hazards that you might have in the house. So first thing is area rugs. While they look beautiful, they pose a tripping hazard to us by just having those edges around where we might not notice it, we might catch our toe. So anywhere that you can reduce the amount of area rugs in their house is the easiest and best thing that you could do. Number two is lighting stairwells and any steps that you might have, putting night lights into outlets near those areas so that they are well lit, so that when we tend to walk around through the evening and it is darker, we notice those areas and prevent ourselves from falling. And the third one, while we all love slippers and a good cozy shoe in the house, it's best to wear something in your house that is fully surrounding your foot so it won't slide off, accidentally trip you up. Anything that we could do to reduce any of those external issues that might cause us to trip is the best thing we could do. In addition to these tips and tricks, here are a few exercises that you can begin working on to help improve that balance. The first thing that we want to do is actually consider our strength. So working on some dynamic strength through our quads, our hips. We can begin with a simple squat. Two variations that I would like to have you tackle. Working through a normal stance where our feet are hip width apart and focusing on being steady with shifting our hips backwards as we bend our knees so that as we move, we are shifting weight backwards. There is a little balance challenge there as I feel my weight move from my toes to my heels and building that strength to go from a high to low position and work through those glutes. The glutes are the largest muscle group in your body. If you can have strength and power in them, you could tackle anything. The second variation will be to have a narrow-based squat. So bringing your feet as close together as you can. Reducing that base of support that you have on the floor increases the challenge in terms of the exercise itself with balance, but you're still working on strength, and it begins to add in a little bit of strength in our inner thighs, which also help to stabilize the outer hips. If this is something that doesn't feel accessible to you, squats seem something that's a little bit intimidating, you can always tackle a sit to stand. So beginning with a seat and sitting at the edge of the chair, our feet are hip width apart, working on getting your body strength to power up through our heels and then to slowly sit down as well. Being able to control the speed as we go to sit is a really powerful tool that we can build into our muscles to control load as we slowly lower ourselves against gravity. Working through these exercises, I always tackle them in groups of 10. The more that you get stronger, 2 to 3 sets should be pretty easy. A second thing to consider with our exercises is dynamic strength. So instead of just standing in one place, being able to move our body in different directions and with a stepping pattern. So we're going to tackle some lunges. 2 great directions of movement, front to back and side to side. You could stand next to a countertop so that you have your hand on there for balance, or possibly even next to a chair so that you can hold on for a little bit of support. But first working yourself through a narrow lunge. So taking our foot just a little bit bigger than a normal step length and keeping our back leg planted on the floor. That allows us to have that good base of support that we can rely on as we push back to bring our feet together. And the easier that gets, maybe you take your hand off of the surface and maybe you have your hands reaching as we move as well. You can then also take this exercise into a side-to-side pattern to help strengthen our hips and side-to-side mobility. So taking our feet wider than hip width, shifting your weight all the way over to that leg that you are lunging to, and pushing back up to standing. Again, you can also work through this by decreasing your support with hand off of a surface, and then working through maybe hand reaching or holding an object in your hand also improves that balance as we move through these dynamic patterns. In addition to strength, we just want to strictly work on our balance. And there's two ways that we can do that: standing still and while moving. So first, considering our static balance. Being able to keep our feet firmly planted on the floor and keep ourselves upright, whether we have eyes open or eyes closed. Our balance system takes into account receptors within our body that tell us where we are in space, as well as our visual input. So being able to challenge our balance with our eyes open really works through the proprioceptive system in our lower body, versus having our eyes closed, which takes out that visual input and really works us towards being able to keep ourselves steady in maybe low lit areas or walking around at night. So you can begin by having your feet be as close together as possible in narrow base stance, and being able to just keep ourselves steady, knees unlocked, and we can work through a 30-second hold for a number of repetitions, maybe 3 to 5 sets. If this doesn't feel like a good enough challenge, you would bring your feet into a modified tandem, which means we have one foot a half foot length in front of the other, still close together, and working through eyes open or eyes closed in this position. Then it progresses to a tandem stance, which is like you standing on a tightrope. So heel to toe touching each other, making sure that we have weight on both our front and our back leg, and being able to keep ourselves steady with both eyes open and eyes closed. Our second thing to consider is that dynamic balance. So being able to move and keep ourselves steady as we move through different directions. So either standing next to a countertop or maybe having a chair next to you so that you can have both hands on for support if needed. We are working through balance on a single leg, keeping all of our weight on one limb with the knee unlocked, and having our other leg reach through directions of movement and tapping to the floor. For example, I might do a forward reach. So taking my right leg, I tap it forward on the floor as far as I can while keeping myself upright. I might have that countertop next to me. And as that gets easier, maybe I have hands off. And then I could be working through having my hands even overhead, which really increases the challenge. I would work this through forward, reaching backwards, and even reaching side to side and across our body. Really works through challenging our body to stay stable on one leg, builds up a little bit of strength, but also improves that dynamic system of balance. So give these tips and exercises a try. But if you feel that you need a more personalized plan to get you back to where you need to be, schedule with us at buffalorehab.com.